as9 Revenue recognition. This accounting standard includes paragraph sets in bold italic type and plain type which have equal authority. Paragraphs in bold italic type indicate the main principle. These accounting standards should be read carefully, should be read in context of preface to the statement of accounting standards and the applicability of accounting standards to various entities. Introduction. These standards deal with the basis of for recognition of revenue in the statement of profit or loss of an enterprise. The standard is concerned with the recognition of revenue arising in course of the ordinary activities of the enterprise from the sale of goods, the rendering of services, and the use by others of enterprise resource building interest, royalties, and dividends. The standard does not deal with the following aspects of revenue recognition to which special considerations apply. Revenue arising from construction contracts, revenue from hire purchase lease agreements, revenue arising from government grants and other similar subsidiaries, revenue from revenue of insurance company arising from insurance contracts. Examples of items not included within the definition of revenue for the purpose of this standard are realized gain resulting from the disposal of an unrealized gain resulting from the holding of non-current assets. For example, appreciation in the value of fixed assets, unrealized holding gains resulting from change in the value of current assets, and the natural increase in the herds and agricultural and forest products. Realized or unrealized gains resulting from changes in foreign exchange rates and adjustments arising from translation of foreign currency financial statements. Realized gain resulting from discharge of an obligation at less than its carrying amount. Unrealized gain resulting from the restatement of the carrying amount of the obligation. Definition. The following terms are used in this standard with meaning specified. Issued in 1995. It is revenue free accounting standards, as in case of other accounting standards, assume that the three fundamental accounting assumptions, that is, being concern, consistency, and accuracy, have been followed in the preparation of the statements. Attention is specifically drawn to the paragraph 4.3 of the preface, according to which accounting standards are intended to apply only to those items which are material. Refer to as7 on construction contracts. 4.1 Revenue is the gross inflow of cash receivable or other considerations arising in the course of the ordinary activities of the enterprise from the sale of goods, from the rendering of services, and from the use by others of enterprise resources building interest, royalties, and dividends. Revenue is measured by changes made to customer or client for goods supplied and services rendered to them, and by the charges and rewards arising from the use of resources by them. In an agency relationship, the revenue is the amount of commission and not the gross inflow of cash receivable or other considerations. Completed service contract method is a method of accounting which recognizes revenue in the statement of profit and loss only when the rendering of service under a contract is completed or substantially completed. Proportionate completion. Proportionate completion method is a method of accounting which recognizes revenue in the statement of profit and loss proportionately with the degree of completion of service under a contract. Explanation. Revenue recognition is mainly concerned with the timing of recognition of revenue in the statement of profit and loss often is right. The amount of revenue arising from translation is usually determined by agreement between the parties involved in the transaction. When the uncertainties exist regarding the determination of the amount or its associated cost, these uncertainties may influence the timing of revenue recognition. Sale of goods. A key criterion for determining when to recognize revenue from a transaction involving the sale of goods is that the seller has transferred the property in the goods to the buyer for a consideration. The transfer of property in goods in most cases results in coincides with the transfer of significant risks and reward of ownership to the buyer. However, there may be situations where transfer of property in goods do not coincide with transfer of significant risks and rewards of ownership. Revenue in such situations is recognized at the time of transfer of significant risks and rewards of ownership to the buyer. Such cases may arise where delivery has been delayed through the fault of either buyer or the seller, and the goods are at the risk of the party at fault as regards any loss which might not have occurred but for such fault. Further, sometimes the party may agree that the risk will pass at a time different from the time when ownership passes. At certain stages in specific industries, such as when agricultural crop has been harvested or mineral ore has been extracted, performance may be substantially complete prior to the execution of the transactions generating revenue. In such cases, when sale is assured under forward contract or a government guarantee, or where market exists, there is negligible risk of failure to sell. The goods involved are often valued at net realizable value. Such amounts, which while not revenue as defined in this standard, are sometimes recognized as in the statement of profit and loss, are appropriately described. Rendering of services. Revenue from services transactions is usually recognized as the services is performed either by the proportional completion method or by the completed service contract method. The Institute has issued an announcement in 2005 to treatment of interdivisional transfer. As per the announcement of recognition of interdivisional transfer as sales is an inappropriate accounting treatment and is inconsistent with accounting standard 9. Proportionate completion method. Performance consists of execution of more than one act. Revenue is recognized proportionately by reference to performance of each act. The revenue recognized under this method will be determined on the basis of correct value, associated cost, number of acts, or other suitable basis. For practical purpose, when services are provided by an intermediate number of acts over a specific period of time, revenue is recognized on the straight line basis over the specific period unless there is evidence that some other method better represents the pattern of performance. Completed service contract method. Performance consists of the execution of a single act. Alternatively, services are performed in more than one single act, and the services yet to be performed are so significant in relation to transaction taken as a whole that performance cannot be deemed to have been completed until the execution of those acts. The completed service contract method is relevant to these patterns of performance, and accordingly, revenue is recognized when the sole or final act takes place and the services becomes chargeable. The use by others of enterprise resource yielding interest, royalties, and dividends. The use by others of such enterprise resources give rise to interest charges for the use of cash resource or amount due to the enterprise, royalties charges for the use of such assets as know-how, patents, trademarks and copyrights, dividends rewards from the holding of investment in shares. Interest accrues in most circumstances on the time basis determined by amount outstanding and the rate applicable. Usually discount or premium of debit securities held is treated as through it were accruing over the period of maturity. Royalties accrued in accordance with the terms of relevant agreement and are usually recognized on that basis unless having regard to the substance of the transformation, it is more appropriate to recognize revenue on some other systematic or rational basis. Dividends from investment in in shares are not recognized in the statement of profit and loss until a right to receive payment is established. When interest, royalties and dividends from foreign countries require exchange permission and uncertainty is in remittance is anticipated, revenue recognized may need to be postponed. Effect of uncertainty on revenue recognition. The recognition of revenue requires that revenue is measurable and that at the time or of scale or the rendering of service it would not be unreasonable to expect ultimate collection. When the ability to assess the ultimate collection with reasonable certainty is lacking at the time of raising a claim, for example, the escalation of price, export incentives, interest, etc., revenue recognition is postponed to the extent of uncertainty involved. In such cases, it may be appropriate to recognize revenue only when it is reasonably certain that the ultimate collection will be made. Where there is no uncertainty as to ultimate collection, revenue is recognized at the time of sale or rendering of service, even through payment are made by installments. When the uncertainty relating to collectibility arises subsequent to the time of sale or rendering of service, it is more appropriate to take separate provisions to reflect the uncertainty rather than to adjust the amount of revenue originally recorded. It is an essential criterion for the recognition of revenue is that the consideration receivable for the sale of goods, the rendering of services, and for the use by others of enterprise resource is reasonably determinable. When such consideration is not determinable within the reasonable limits, the recognition of revenue is postponed. When recognition of revenue is postponed due to the effect of uncertainties, it is considered as revenue of the period in which it is properly recognized. Main principles. Revenue from sales or service transactions should be recognized when the requirements as performance set out in the paragraphs 11 and 12 are satisfied, provided that at the time of performance it is not unreasonable to expect ultimate collection. If at the time of raising of any claim it is unreasonable to expect ultimate collection, revenue recognition should be postponed. Explanation. The amount of revenue from sales transaction turnover should be disclosed in following manner on the face of statement of profit or loss. Turnover gross excess less excise duty excess, turnover net excess. The amount of excise duty to be deducted from the turnover should be the total excise duty for the year except the excise duty related to the difference between the closing stock and opening stock. The excise duty related to the difference between the closing stock and opening stock should be recognized separately in the statement of profit and loss, where explanatory note in the notes to accounts to explain the nature of the two amounts of excise duty. In a transaction involving the sale of goods, performance should be regarded as being achieved when the following conditions have been fulfilled: the seller of goods has transferred to the buyer of property in the goods for a price, or all significant risks and rewards of ownership have transferred to the buyer, and the seller retains no effective control of the goods transferred to a degree usually associated with ownership, and no significant uncertainty exists regarding the amount of consideration that will be derived from the sale of the goods. In a transaction involving the rendering of service, performance should be measured either under the completed service contract method or under proportionate completion method, which to revenue relates the revenue to the work accompanied. Such performance should be regarded as being achieved when no significant uncertainty exists regarding the amount of consideration that will be derived from rendering the service. Revenue arising from the use by others of enterprise resource yielding interest, royalties, and dividends should only be recognized when no significant uncertainties as to measurability or collectivity exist. These revenues are recognized on following basis: interest on the time proportion basis, taking into account the amount outstanding at and the rate applicable; royalties on the accrual basis in accordance with terms of relevant agreement; dividends from investment in shares when the owner's right to receive payment is established; disclosure in addition to the disclosure required by Accounting Standard 1 on disclosure of accounting policies (AS1), an enterprise should also disclose the circumstances in which revenue recognition has been postponed pending the resolution of significant uncertainties. Illustrations: these illustrations do not form the part of accounting standard. Their purpose is to illustrate the application of the standard to a number of commercial situations in an endeavor to assist in clarifying application of the standard. Sale of goods. A sale of good delivery is delayed at buyer's request and buyer takes little title and accepts billing. Revenue should be recognized notwithstanding that physical delivery has not been completed, so long as there is every expectation that delivery will be made. However, the item must be on hand, identified, and ready for delivery to the buyer at the time sale is recognized, rather than there being simply an intention to acquire or manufacture the good at the time of bill for delivery. Delivery subject to conditions, installations and inspections, that is, goods are sold subject to installation, inspections, etc. Revenue should normally be recognized until the customer accepts delivery and installations and inspections are complete. In some cases, however, the installation progress may be so simple in nature that it may be appropriate to recognize the sale, notwithstanding that installation is not yet completed. For example, installation of a factory-tested television receiver normally only requires unpacking and connecting of power and antenna. On approval, revenue should not only be recognized until the goods have been formally accepted by the buyer, or the buyer has done an act adopting the transaction at the time period for rejection has elapsed, or where no time has been fixed, reasonable time which has elapsed. Guarantee sales, that is, delivery is made giving buyer an unlimited right to return. Recognition of revenue in such cases will depend on the substance of agreement. In the case of retail sales offering guarantee of money back, if not completely satisfied, it may be appropriate to recognize the sale, but to make suitable provisions for return based on previous experience. In other words, the substance of agreement may amount to the sale of consignment, in which case it should be treated as indicated below. Consignment sale, that is, delivery is made whereby the recipient undertakes to sell goods on behalf of consignment. Revenue should not be recognized until goods are sold to a third party. Cash on delivery sale. Revenue should not be recognized until cash is received by the seller or his agent. Sales where purchaser makes a series of installment payments to seller and the seller delivers the goods only when final payment is received. Revenue in such cases should not be recognized until goods are delivered. However, when experience indicates that most such sales has been consummated, revenue may be recognized when a significant deposit is received. Special order maximum, that is, when payment or partial payment is received for goods not presently held in stock. For example, stock is placed to be manufactured or is to be delivered directly to the customer or a third party. Revenue for such sales should not be recognized until goods are manufactured, identified and ready for delivery to the buyer by the third party. Sale repurchase agreement, that is, where seller concurrently agrees to repurchase the same goods at a later date. For such transactions, there are in substance a financing agreement. The resulting cash inflow is not revenue as defined and should not be recognized as revenue. Sales to intermediate parties, that is, where goods are sold to distributor, dealers or others for resale. Revenue for such sale can generally be recognized if significant risks of ownership have passed. However, in some situations, the buyer may in substance be an agent, and in such cases, the sale should be treated as consignment sale. Subscriptions or publications. Revenue received or billed should be deferred and recognized either on a straight line basis over time or where the item delivered varies in value from period to period. Revenue should be based on the sale value of the item delivered in relation to total sales value of all items covered by the subscription. Installment sales. When the consideration is received in installments, revenue attributable to the sale price exclusive of interest should be recognized at the date of sale. The interest element should be recognized as revenue proportionately to the unpaid balance due to the seller. Trade discount and volume rebates. Trade discount and volume rebates received and not encompassed within the definition of revenue. Since they represent a reduction in cost, trade discount and volume rebates given should be dedicated in determining revenue. Rendering of services. Installation fees. In case where installation fees are other than incidental to the sale of products, they should be recognized as revenue only when the equipment is installed and accepted by the customer. Advertising and insurance agency commission. Revenue should be recognized when the service is completed. For advertising agency, media commissions will normally be recognized when the related advertisement or commercial papers before the public and the necessary intimation is received by the agency as opposed to production commission, which will be recognized when the project is completed. Insurance agency commission should be recognized on effective commencement or renewal dates of the related policies. Financial service commission. A financial service may be rendered as a single act or may be provided over a period of time. Similarly, charges of such finance services may be made as a single amount or in stages over the period of service of the life of the transaction to which it relates. Such charges may be settled in full when made or added to a loan or other account and settled in stages. The recognition of such revenue should therefore have regard to whether the service has been provided once and for all on is on counting basis. The incidence of costs relating to the services when the payment for the service will be received. In general, commissions charges to charge for an arranging or granting loans or other facilities should be recognized when binding obligation has been entered into commitment facility or loan management fees which relates to counting obligations or services should normally be recognized over a life of the loan or facility having regard to the amount of obligation outstanding, the nature of services provided, and the timing of the cost relating thereto. Thereto. Admission fees, revenue from artistic performance, bank, banquets, and other special events should be recognized when the event takes place. When a subscription to a number of events is sold, the fees should be allocated to each event on a systematic and rational basis. Tuition fees revenue should be recognized over a period of instruction, entrance and membership fees. Revenue recognition from these sources will depend on the nature of services being provided. Entrance fees received is generally capitalized if the member fee permits only membership and all other services or products are paid for separately, or if there is separate annual subscription, the fees should be recognized when received. If the membership fee entitles the members to service or publication to be provided during the year, it should be recognized on systematic and rational basis having regard to the timing and the nature of all services provided.